This is why the cybersecurity community hates age verification. We've got a breach. We've always got a breach. There's always a breach. This time it's Discord. I read about this on October 3rd when it happened, and I didn't think much of it. Discord didn't get hacked themselves, but their third-party customer support service provider, in this case Zendesk, got compromised. I was like, all right, so they probably got a bunch of information about people who have interacted with Discord support before, opened up a Zendesk ticket. On this list, we've got, okay, name, Discord, email. I was like, all right, maybe there's something here worth talking about. De-anonymizing Discord accounts would probably be a big deal. There's probably some people, maybe in politics, that are probably in some Discords that they wouldn't want you or I to know about. That kind of thing happens a lot. If it gets in the hand of the right threat actor, aka a nation state, we've got blackmail on our hands. But I thought, hey, it's probably a pretty low risk that the number of people that actually interacted with the support portal would turn into a significant number of people's worth of information released here. But as we saw in the Salesforce Sales Loft situation, people put just an insane amount of information into their customer support tickets. And in this case, Discord had a process that at some point they started asking for pictures to be emailed to them of government IDs via their support portal. They've updated this today, October 8th, because I think of a lot of the blowback going on social media, which is why I'm making this video, because they really downplayed it. What I saw next on Twitter was the threat actors' chats leaking, reacting to Discord saying a small number of government IDs in their original breach disclosure. The threat actors are like, small number, huh? We've got, 2.1 million items here, 1.5 terabytes. And following a lot of this via the VX Underground Twitter and this International Cyber Digest. So shouts for you guys for putting a lot of this out there. And the threat actors even started dropping samples of users from the data showing their face and their ID verification. I was literally pulling this tweet up just now because I had a bunch of other stuff pulled up ready to share, but I forgot this picture that I knew existed. And I saw this tweet literally like 4 minutes ago from the time that I pulled this up. So now we've got information about Coinbase employees, Discord accounts, and then Tyler Robinson, the alleged murderer of Charlie Kirk's information is starting to pop up in the leaks. Again, this is support portal stuff. So they're searching the Discord name of Tyler Robinson. And that's how they found this. This is, again, leaking from the threat actors. Caveat, the threat actors are extorting Discord right now. So it is in their best interest to make as much noise publicly about this as possible. There's also a lot of talk about attribution, right? Is this the whole new, threat actor conglomerate that was, Scattered Spiders, Shiny Hunters, Lapsus, whatever? VX Underground says, they have evidence that it is absolutely not that group. It doesn't really matter. There's so much overlap in these groups right now. Attribution among these types of threat actors is kind of pointless unless you're law enforcement. Their MO is the same. Then you've got people from Hudson Rock, which there's a lot of drama around Hudson Rock from last year or the year before, Time's a Flat Circle, literally saying, hey, if this data leaks, we might actually be able to solve some crypto hacks and scams from this data. So I think he's rooting for the leak, which is just insane. I'll just say if it leaks, this DB is going to be huge for solving crypto-related hacks and scams because scammers often do not remember to use burner emails and VPNs, and almost all of them are on Discord. This is from the Bleeping Computer article, which has not updated with the new government ID stuff yet. But we did just get a new article on The Verge saying that Discord is coming out and saying, hey, they've got 70,000 users that might have had their government IDs leaked. So this is that small number they were talking about. Maybe this is a small number percentage-wise across all Discord users. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty small. They continue to stress they did not get hacked. I'll continue to stress that too, right? Zendesk was the one that had this compromise. We don't have a lot of details about the compromise yet, but the number being shared on part of the threat actor basically to extort payment of us is incorrect, right? So they're saying that whole 2.1 million number, 1.5 terabytes is incorrect or at least faked or exaggerated or something like that. They're saying 70,000 users may have had their government IDs exposed, which our vendor used to review age-related appeals. So that's the root of this problem, of this video, of everything I'm going to continue to rage about. This is not the last time. We saw the T dating app, in order to verify age or identity on that, lost a bunch of people's driver's licenses. We see it in Texas or other states like that, where they're starting to enforce laws that adult websites need to collect IDs. And a lot of websites have stopped operating in those states instead of doing so. Discord, if I'm reading the tea leaves correctly, is doing this because of the UK's laws on this. And it just really hurts a lot of these people to have different processes for different things. But say Discord UK users might need to prove their identity, prove their age in order for Discord to comply with local regulations. Can I ever stop quoting Rachel Toback? The answer is no. But her and John Scott, who both of these people, experts on this place. John Scott's from Citizen Lab. Rachel is an expert on all things like hacking and social engineering. And she says my exact point, so I had to bring it up. This breach is another example of the risk of collecting IDs for age verification. If you're going to collect sensitive data, you have to protect it, and we're not seeing it protected well so far. And I just don't think that that's even a reasonable expectation of a lot of these companies. Their core competency is not protecting government-issued IDs. I mean, granted, Discord, big company, probably has a decent security budget, and like we said, they didn't get hacked. Zendesk, I am completely unaware of their security processes, but that's not the point. The point being a lot of these sites, especially some of these adult sites, in order to comply with these regulations, but all of a sudden have to materialize a capability and a competency in information security that they've never had to have up until that point. Is it fair to assume that they would all of a sudden be able to do that? No. The EFF literally has campaigns of this against the Supreme Court or whoever it is to just say, hey, age verification harms all users. I'm also a huge proponent of, if anyone is saying that they're doing anything to save the children, to investigate their claims. This is the same reason that they say that they need backdoors into our encryption, and so that we should not be able to have private communications between one another. It's the same thing. Save the children. Oh, would you like children to be able to freely visit adult websites? No, but am I willing to sacrifice everyone's privacy in order to make sure that that doesn't happen? Also, no. I like EFF's terminology here. No method of age verification is both privacy protective and entirely accurate. These methods don't each fit somewhere on the spectrum of more safe and less safe, or more accurate and less accurate. Rather, they each fall on the spectrum of dangerous in one way to dangerous in a different way. They literally write official communications to the Supreme Court to strike down these unconstitutional age verification laws in very official briefs to the Attorney General of Texas with a lot of fancy Latin words on very official letterhead. This is above, I feel like I'm entering a tax bracket just pulling this document up. Requiring adults to verify their ages before speaking and accessing protected speech online imposes distinct harms that are not present when requiring in-person age verification. Because that's the argument that a lot of these people make. You have to present an ID to get into a bar. Yeah, but that doesn't immediately go into a database that I can then never verify if you handle, delete, or whatever it is securely. It also doesn't immediately de-anonymize me to everyone in that bar. And that's what's potentially happening here, is you are losing all anonymization if these websites cannot securely protect that identity to that account on your website. This puts people in danger. There are tons of people who need to use internet sites with an anonymous association to that user for their own safety. Maybe they live in a country that doesn't take too kindly to their identity. Maybe they live in a country that has less free speech than we do. Maybe they live somewhere that they are scared to be who they are publicly. For whatever reason, it's none of my business. Maybe they're stuck in a relationship that's not safe, and they need to have an identity online that's not tied to their actual identity. And that should be okay. But then you have these data breaches happen, and literally lives could be at danger if you are tying a online username to a real person's identity and effectively doxing them via losing their driver's license. Guys, this sucks. I don't know. I have no problem with Discord's security team or anything like that going on. Obviously, they're doing their job. They have this third-party vendor that they trusted with this information. There's a few issues here, right? I don't like the downplaying publicly, the small number. If we're going to come out and say 70,000 is actually a small percent, whatever. Why do I have to chase around Twitter accounts with all of this information and screenshots and leaks? Yeah, they're trying to drum up some sort of drama to extort them, but rule number one in this kind of breach communication type stuff is be as transparent as possible in what you know, because that gives us time to navigate how we protect ourselves or help our users if we're working at a company or whatever it is. Number two, why did this information need to be stored? According to everything that we're seeing, I'm not seeing that there's any purging of any of this information going on once the request is complete. If I open a ticket with some service and they need to do some sort of identity verification for me, I would assume that they do the identity verification and then move on. Mark my account as I am an adult and delete my sensitive information that I had to pass you to verify that. I don't like it. I don't like that I had to pass you that information, but there are risks and threat models that I have to assume in order to just be a citizen on the internet and use services. Have you ever bought a house? Do you realize what a pain in the ass it is to buy a house? As a cybersecurity professional for 2 decades, buying a house makes every inch of my skin crawl. You have to just pass over all sorts of information via completely BS non-secure methods. They're getting better. They're using like secure file upload sites and all this kind of crap, but it's, oh God, it just makes it's just like, okay, I'm like super careful with my identity, and then here you go, right? Here's literally all of my sensitive information, financial, identity, and otherwise, for you to be able to approve me for a mortgage. Sound off for all of you who have just been driven crazy by mortgage identity stuff that you've had to like fork over via email or whatever the hell it was. That's certainly how it was when I bought my first house. It was just like, okay, I guess I'm just going to email keys to my kingdom. Overall, I just wish a few things happened differently here, but breaches happen. And I'm obviously not ragging on the breach happening. I'm ragging on why are we passing over our driver's license to social media companies who are going to wind up having security incidents. We see it over and over again. Whether they have an incident, a third-party supplier has an incident, or whatever it is, we're going to see it over and over again. This is going to get worse before it gets better. And the solution is we got to stop collecting this information that we don't freaking need. Thanks so much. Follow for more cybersecurity stuff.